Hi everyone. Okay, today, reasons to love The Slender Thread from 1965, and there's lots of reasons to love this film. So this one stars Sidney Poitier and Anne Bancroft, and it's a really interesting drama, this one, that is based on an actual event, and the story was originally captured in Life magazine, but it got adapted into a script by Sterling Silliphant, and it concerns a volunteer at a crisis centre in Seattle who happens to take the call of a woman who has just overdosed on pills, and so he needs to be able to keep her on the line long enough in order to be able to get help to try and track her down. So this is an interesting drama. Certainly in recent years we've seen this kind of theme in films such as The Call and The Guilty, but I would say this is a much better film than those. Now, this is the feature film debut for director Sidney Poitier, the director who then went on to do movies such as 3 Days of the Condor, Tootsie and Out of Africa. And this is a great feature film debut for him. Now, he had been working in TV for some 10 years before this, but he certainly rounded out a really fantastic cast and crew for this. So as well as Sidney Poitier and Anne Bancroft, we've got Telly Savalas and Ed Asner, and we also have the film debut for Dabney Coleman. And Dabney Coleman, an actor that Sidney Poitier worked with again in 1982 in Tootsie. Now, as I said, the script on this one is by Sterling Silliphant, interesting screenwriter. He started in 1955 with the script for Five Against the House with Kim Novak. He also did The Lineup, starring Eli Wallach in 1958, as well as Village of the Damned in 1960, cult classic that one, starring George Sanders. Later on in his career, he went on to do a couple of the disaster movies, such as The Poseidon Adventure and The Towering Inferno, as well as some of the not-so-great disaster movies that came later in that 70s decade, The Swarm and When Time Ran Out in 1980. And then the music score we have on this is by Quincy Jones, and this was a fairly early film score for Quincy Jones. He had done The Pawnbroker in 1964, but hang on a minute, we've got Quincy Jones, we've got Sidney Poitier, and we've got the screenwriter Sterling Silliphant, and yes, all three of them collaborated again just a couple of years later in 1967 for the classic In the Heat of the Night. Now, when it comes to co-star Anne Bancroft, she's playing the woman here who has taken the overdose, and the reasons become clear during the course of the movie, but it does concern her relationship with her husband and her son. Now, prior to making The Slender Thread, Anne Bancroft had starred the previous year in The Pumpkin Eater, and that was also a kind of psychological drama, if you like, concerning some marital difficulties and her children in that one, but a very different film. And then the cinematography on this film is by Loyal Griggs. Now, he's a cinematographer that for me means a lot because he's actually one of the cinematographer names that I first learnt because he filmed one of my all-time favourite films, which is the Western Shane in 1953. I absolutely love that movie. But he also did the cinematography for The Ten Commandments and White Christmas. But interestingly, those are notable for their colour cinematography, and this film is in black and white, and really it shows how good Loyal Griggs' cinematography was. I mean, it would have been interesting to see him do more movies in black and white and maybe some film noirs, because some of the techniques he uses in this are really excellent. And the film is filmed in Seattle, and particularly at the beginning of the film, we've got these incredible aerial shots showing Seattle's Space Needle and the Pacific Science Theatre. I actually love that area. I've been there back in about 2015. I went to Seattle, and that Pacific Science Theatre that you see in the film, and I'll just put a couple of photos up which I took at the time, but yeah, that actually houses a couple of IMAX theatres, and I remember going to see Furious 7 when I was there. Yeah, it's a great location and it looks stunning in the film. But other things that are interesting about this film is the fact that Sidney Poitier chooses not to just confine it within one room. This could very easily have been a low-budget film, all filmed in one room, where you've just got Sidney Poitier on a phone call and trying to keep Anne Bancroft's character busy and keep her interested. But he does do some exterior shots, and we do get to go outside, and we get a little backstory as well. So there's lots of interesting techniques that are used in this film, so it's not just a one-location film. And the other really interesting thing about it is the fact that it's made in 1965, so before modern technology and modern phone lines. And so we get to see a lot of work that's involved in trying to trace the call, and we get to see all the operators of the switchboards and all the manual work that's needed to be able to try and trace an actual call. So all of that is quite fascinating. But yeah, overall, whilst there may be a few dull spots in it, this is a really good drama, and definitely well played. Maybe some of the techniques that Sidney Poitier uses in this wouldn't be condoned by crisis centres nowadays, but nonetheless it makes for a really effective drama. So yeah, great performances, great cast and crew, definitely worth seeing. The Slender Thread from 1965, directed by Sidney Pollack. Okay, have you seen it? Let me know your thoughts. Please do join me again for more videos. Thanks very much for watching this one. All the best to you. Bye-bye.